And we all know that nothing the publicists do now matters, because the picture won't be out for at least 9 months, and whatever photo was in the Daily News will have been long forgotten. And besides, the title of the movie will have been changed. Often the last to arrive is the writer. He's last because he knows that at this point, he's the target. At this moment, anything wrong can only be his fault since nothing else has happened yet. So he moves quietly to the coffee table, stuffs his mouth full of Danish so he won't have to answer any questions, and tries to become as small as possible. The assistant director is trying to set up the last of the medical exams for the insurance company. Leading cast members are always insured. And I'm making believe I'm listening to everybody. A phony, warm smile on my face, just waiting for the minute hand to reach straight up at the start of the hour, so we can begin the reason for all this. We're here to make a movie. Finally, I can't wait any longer. It's still 3 minutes of, but I glance over to the AD. Nervous, but with a voice filled with authority, he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, or folks, or hey gang, can we take our seats?" The tone the AD uses is important. If he sounds like Santa Claus chortling ho, 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 the actors know that he's afraid of them, and he'll have a rough time later. If he sounds pompous and officious, they'll surely screw him somewhere along the line. The best are the British ADs. Out of years of English good manners, they go quietly from one actor to the other. "Mr. Finney, we're ready for you now. Miss Bergman, if you please." The actors gather around the table. I give my first direction to them. I tell them where to sit. Actually, I've been directing this picture for some time. Depending on how complicated the physical production of the movie will be, I've been in pre-production anywhere from 2.5 to 6 months. And depending on how much work had to be done on the script, perhaps for months before pre-production began. Major decisions have already been made. There are no minor decisions in movie making. Each decision will either contribute to a good piece of work or bring the whole movie crashing down around my head many months later. The first decision, of course, was whether to do the movie. I don't know how other directors decide. I decide completely instinctively, very often on just one reading. This has produced very good movies and very bad ones. But it's the way I've always done it, and I'm too old to change now. I don't analyze a script as I read it for the first time. I just sort of let it wash over me. Sometimes it happens with a book. I read Prince of the City in book form and knew I desperately wanted to make a movie of it. I also make sure that I have the time to read a script straight through. A script can have a very different feeling if reading it is interrupted, even for half an hour. The final movie will be seen uninterrupted, so why should reading the script for the first time be any different? Material comes from many sources. Sometimes the studio sends it with a firm offer and a start date. That, of course, is the best of all worlds because the studio is prepared to finance the movie. Scripts arrive from writers, agents, stars. Sometimes it's material that I've developed, and then starts the agonizing process of submissions to studios and/or stars to see if financing will be forthcoming. There are many reasons for accepting a movie. I'm not a believer in waiting for great material that will produce a masterpiece. What's important is that the material involve me personally on some level. And the levels will vary. Long Day's Journey into Night is everything one can hope for. 4 characters come together and leave no area of life unexplored. However, I once did a picture called The Appointment. It had fine dialogue by James Salter, but a dreadful storyline that had been handed to him by an Italian producer. I presume Jim needed the money. The picture had to be shot in Rome. Until then, I'd been having great difficulty in finding out how to use color. I'd been brought up on black and white movies, and almost all the movies I'd made until then were in black and white. The 2 color movies I'd done, Stage Struck and The Group, had left me dissatisfied. The colors seemed fake. The colors seemed to make the movies even more unreal. Why did black and white seem real and color false? Obviously, I was using it wrong, or, much more serious, not using it at all. I had seen a movie of Antonioni's called Red Desert. It had been photographed by Carlo de Palma. Here, at last, was color being used for drama, for furthering the story, for deepening the characters. I called De Palma in Rome, and he was available for the appointment. I happily accepted the picture. I knew that Carlo would get me through my color block, and he did. That was a perfectly sensible reason to do the movie. I've done 2 movies because I needed the money. I've done 3 because I love to work and couldn't wait anymore. Because I'm a professional, I worked as hard on those movies as on any I've done. 2 of them turned out to be good and were hits. Because the truth is that nobody knows what that magic combination is that produces a first-rate piece of work. I'm not being modest. There's a reason some directors can make first-rate movies and others never will. But all we can do is prepare the groundwork that allows for the lucky accidents that make a first-rate movie happen. Whether or not it will happen is something we never know. There are too many intangibles, as the following chapters will reveal. For anyone who wants to direct but hasn't made a first movie yet, there's no decision to make. Whatever the movie, whatever the auspices, whatever the problems, if there's a chance to direct, take it. Period. Exclamation point. The first movie is its own justification because it's the first movie. I've been talking about why I decided to do a particular movie. Now comes the most important decision I have to make. What is this movie about? I'm not talking about plot, although in certain very good melodramas the plot is all they're about, and that's not bad. A good, rousing, scary story can be a hell of a lot of fun. But what is it about emotionally? What is the theme of the movie, the spine, the arc? What does the movie mean to me? Personalizing the movie is very important. I'm going to be working flat out for the next 6, 9, 12 months. The picture had better have some meaning to me. Otherwise, the physical labor, very hard indeed, will become twice as exhausting. The word meaning can spread over a very wide range. The appointment meant that I had the chance to work with Carlo, and what I learned made a difference on all my subsequent pictures. The question, what is this movie about, will be asked over and over again throughout the book. For now, suffice it to say that the theme, the what of the movie, is going to determine the style, the how of the movie. The theme will decide the specifics of every selection made in all the following chapters. I work from the inside out. What the movie is about will determine how it will be cast, how it will look, how it will be edited, how it will be musically scored, how it will be mixed, how the titles will look, and with a good studio, how it will be released. What it's about will determine how it's to be made. As I said earlier, melodrama can have its own justification because the question of what happens next is one of the delights that's carried over from childhood. It was a thrilling feeling the first time we listened to Little Red Riding Hood, and we're still thrilled when we see The Silence of the Lambs. That's not to say that The Silence of the Lambs is only about its story. Due to Ted Talley's fine writing, Jonathan Demme's extraordinary direction, and Anthony Hopkins' magnificent performance, it is also an exploration of 2 fascinating characters. But first and foremost, it's a nail-biter, a brilliant story that keeps you terrified and guessing. Melodrama is a heightened theatricality that makes the implausible plausible. By going further, it seems more real. Murder on the Orient Express is a first-rate whodunit that keeps you completely off balance. I remember, when I first read the script, shrieking with joy when it was finally revealed that they all done it. Talk about implausible. And after a bit of thought, I realized it was about something else. Nostalgia. For me, Agatha Christie's world is predominantly nostalgic.